Thank you. Whoa. Awesome. Thanks for coming out to the In Conversation with Robert Kirkman panel. Marvel at my t-shirt that looks like a tablecloth at a picnic. Thank you. Did this with a moderator last year. It was a lot of fun. I don't know why I didn't get a moderator for this year. Thought it would be more personal. I like to make things a little low-key. So I don't have a slideshow or any previews or any of that awesome stuff you guys come to expect from Comic-Con panels. It happens. Anyway, let's get some announcements off the, let's see here, we got Walking Dead Season 8 is coming back on October 22nd. Before that, we've got Fear the Walking Dead, the back half of Season 3, coming back on September 10th. Yep, very excited about that. There's a Walking Dead issue of some kind coming out in the next month or less. I believe the next one is 171, but don't quote me on that because I don't keep track of numbers anymore. It's a little odd. So yeah. But I hope everybody's having a great Comic-Con. Are we having a good time here? Is it a lot of fun? It's good? It's good. The bulk of this panel is going to be Q&A. So the quality of this panel is as dependent on you as it is dependent on me, I like to say, when I get nervous before these things start. If you guys want to go ahead and line up, it looks like we only have one microphone, which will be right here in the center, which you're too young. I'm kidding, get up here. Yeah, if you guys want to line up, we'll do that. And not yet, but I like this kid. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But yeah, so we'll go through some Q&A and have a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll answer your questions in ways that are not too frustrating. Do not ask who dies because I may tell you.
Do you regret killing Glenn?
In the event that Stephen Yun eventually sees this, I just want to say for the record, not even a little bit. No. But maybe a little. A little bit at the premiere. We saw that. I got to watch that with an audience, and when it was happening, I was like, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. And then, with the cudlets of it all and everything, poor Abraham, it's just like, oh man, we really thought it was a good idea to do both of them. All right. But, I think it's good for the show. I think it was good to, have that event for the 7th season. I think a lot of shows tend to be winding down when you get to your 7th season, and I feel like there was a lot of new blood and a lot of energy injected into the show with the 7th season, especially with the coming of Negan, who everybody likes, despite the fact that he does things that nobody likes. Yeah, I think it was a good thing for us, and it really is, when you guys see season 8 and what we've got planned for this year, it all comes together in a really cool way. So it's fun talking about that savage murder with you. How old are you, man?
12.
What grade are you in?
Going into 8th.
Okay, going into 8th. That's cool. That's cool. My son is 11 and he's going into 6th. So does that mean you're like super smart?
Yes.
Okay. You can sit down now.
I have to adjust the microphone.
That's fine. Everyone just needs to crouch from now on. It's great.
So, is it all up to you, or do you have other people help you figure out the biology, the basic science, the entomology of how the walkers disintegrate and what eats them and what doesn't? And
a lot of answers here. If you're handing out credit, it's all about me. You may notice we're not very thorough. So when it comes to entomology, is that the study of insects? I'd have to look that up, right? Oh, okay. Hey, look, I got that one. That's good. Yeah, not a lot of that going on at all, I think. Unless I don't know about it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We do research as much as we can, but there's a lot of people on the show, writing staff-wise. There's a lot of writers' assistants and people that check over scripts for facts and things like that. But we all do our own research, and that's why every now and then there's a lot of there's things that get in the show that somebody online says, well, that's not how that works, or that's not how guns work. Well, it's mostly about guns. That's the thing that people seem to nitpick us the most about. So yeah. But no, I mean, if I had someone that was like a full-time, like, make things bulletproof and really check out your stories, everything would be better. So it's a good suggestion. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. First off, Rick and Michonne, yay.
Yes.
Are Daryl and Carol ever going to hook up?
Man, yeah, you're gonna ask me out of there. Sometimes I forget people like record these and it like goes online afterwards. So I was just gonna go, but I can't answer. We'll just have to wait and see. Is that frustrating enough?
Yes.
We are fully aware that it is something that people would like to see happen.
What's up, boss? I like your shoes.
Or some other people aren't happy. So I guess the answer is no, and the answer is maybe. What's up, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you. I like your shoes, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Very stylish. I was going to get those.
They slip on and off very easily. It's like, oh, look at that. Whoa, look at that. Yeah, it's very good.
Always wanted to ask, because a lot of people, when they read Negan, they read him funny. But I know he's supposed to come off as evil or something. How is he in your head? Like, there's a infamous line that if you could read it how you wrote it.
Ooh.
Well, you don't have to, but.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Just this one.
I mean, there are some words that Negan says that I do not say.
When you wrote that one in particular was my.
Yeah. Can the genius, was he 12 or 13? Can you hold your ears? He just says, I'm not an actor, so this is real. There's a lot of pressure. But he just says, still, here I am, friendly as a fuckless fuck on Free Fuck Day. All right. I await Jeffrey Dean Morgan's notes. You do this.
Hi there. I'd like to say thank you so much for being here yesterday.
Oh.
And wanted to ask, how does it feel after all these years to finally say goodbye to Invincible?
It's a little upsetting. Hey, I should have done some of that in my intro. Like, Outcast is still, we got this comic coming out, and Invincible's coming to an end this year, and it's a real bummer, I guess. Last issue comes out in January, issue 144. It's a mixed emotions because I'm super excited about what we're doing. I'm really excited about everything that's coming up and all the twists and reveals, and I think we're, Ryan and Corey and I are real pleased with, how we're wrapping things up. And it's also a really cool time because lately I'm almost talking to Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg daily about the Invincible movie, so that's really exciting. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, so I'm here to announce the release date. It is going to be, I have no idea. So I mean, there's a lot going on with it, so it's still like really exciting, but every now and then, I'm not done writing. I still have like a couple issues to go, and so as I've done all my plots, so all my plots are done, but every time I do a little bit more work on it, and I notice that I'm getting closer and closer to the end, I'm like, oh God. I don't feel good about this. And then every now and then, I don't know if you guys read the letters columns, but I'll be like, 4 issues to go. Oh God, I don't know what I'm going to do when this book's over. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get to issue 144 and I'll go, I'm not going to end it. Who knows? But that's probably not going to happen.
Thank you.
I think Ryan Otley somewhere just passed out and died.
Hi.
Hello.
So I know that you have to change things that happen in the comics so that there's a bit of a surprise in the TV show. How do you decide what you're going to change?
Well, I mean, a lot of times it's not me. A lot of times it's someone in the writer's room that's like, hey, what if this happened or this happened instead? Or I was reading the story. A lot of it comes from hindsight, like they're able to read issues in a way that I didn't. They didn't exist when I wrote them, so I couldn't go, how this thing like dovetailed into this thing 40 issues later? Like, what if we had this guy say this and it like hinted at that? So there's a lot of stuff that comes from them being able to look at a bigger picture and go, ooh, let's tweak this here, tweak this there. And then every now and then, I'll come in, the Glenn death was one of them. I was like, it'd be really cool if Negan killed someone else, and the fans were like, Glenn's safe. And then it was like, no, it's not.
Yeah, no.
So there's stuff like that I sometimes come up with, and that's because that's a big epic moment in the comic book series, and everybody who's read the comic book series like is aware of it, and it's like a pinnacle like thing that people talk about, and so to just kind of lead up to it exactly the same way I think would be anticlimactic and would give you a different experience in the show than you got in the comics, which is always, I think, a bad thing. And by doing that, I feel like we're heightening it for the television audience that doesn't read the comics. So it's kind of like a win-win. So that's the thinking behind it.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Hey.
Hi.
So I follow the comics as well, and I've been noticing, Rick isn't doing too hot. I was just wondering if Rick does...
He's dealing with a lot.
If Rick does meet his demise eventually, do you think the comics or the show will keep on going?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've said before that, Rick does not survive to the end. I mean, it was years ago, so you guys probably forgot. But yeah, I mean, I foresee there being more story after his eventual demise.
All right, thank you.
Next issue. Hello.
Hi. So I was surprised to learn that there was a hardcover collection of Astounding Wolfman that released a couple months ago.
Yes, we also have a collection of Astounding Wolfman that collects the 25-issue series that Jason Howard and I did. It came out a couple months ago. We probably have it at the Skybound booth, but you should all go check it out. Great series. The writer on that book, whew, so handsome. So handsome. I don't know how that has anything to do with how good the book is, but I'll just go ahead and state that for the record.
So I was wondering if you had any plans for a reboot or revival for Astounding
Nope.
Wolfman? Dang.
Maybe eventually, but you got like 400 more issues of Walking Dead to write. Go ahead. And it's really wearing on me. I got to be honest, guys. It's dark. But go ahead.
So there's a lot of writers when they write a story, they'll write like the end first, and then they'll do the beginning, then they'll fill it in. Like the guys who wrote Lost, they knew how they wanted to end the series by.
Are we really buying that? I mean, I know Damon, but I'm not gonna.
So I was just wondering if you had any idea of how you wanted to end it, or like if you wrote the ending like a while ago and you're just getting to that point, or is there an ultimate goal you have in mind of what you wanted to do?
For Walking Dead?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you weren't talking about Astounding Wolfman. So that's not funny. It's possible he could have been talking about Astounding Wolfman. How dare you? Hardcover's available at Skybound booth. I didn't know exactly where I was when I first started Walking Dead. I knew about the prison storyline, so I knew that they would eventually live in a prison. I knew they'd like encounter like the governor, and there'd be some stuff that happens, and I was working towards that. But by the time I was at issue 6, I was plotting stuff past that, and so that's kind of how it worked. Like I had this like 50 or 60 issue chunk of story, and every issue I wrote, it just kept moving. So I always had like this big roadmap ahead of me. And there was an ending I had in mind that I was thinking, oh, this would be kind of a cool ending. And I got to a point where it should have happened, and I was like, I'm not done yet. And this was before the show ever happened. I mean, it got to a point where I was like I would have had to start building to it. And I was like, nah. And so I just threw that out. And then I just kept going because I had like all kinds of cool stuff I wanted to do. But I think like 2 or 3 years ago, I had like a pretty good idea for a definitive ending. And I have known that since then and been working towards that. So I know exactly where I'm going and what's going to happen when I get there. I haven't written it down or anything. So, I don't know why I would do that. That seems too practical and responsible. But I remember it, and so I'm working towards that. But it's a long way off.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So,
Thank you.
So yeah, and I feel like that helps. I mean, the book, it's really important to me that because I know it's going to be such a long journey that we're always building to something, and there's always something new that can happen, and you really have to do a lot of planning, especially at this point. Like, it's actually more difficult to write The Walking Dead than it ever was because we've done a lot of stuff, and so to be able to top yourself and keep things fresh and keep things interesting and keep doing new things gets harder and harder and harder as you go. So knowing what the end game is and working towards that makes it a little bit easier.
Thank you.
I'm somewhat responsible.
Hi.
Hello.
I guess my question is going to be similar to the other ladies up here.
Well, don't ask that.
Sorry.
My answer will be similar as well.
For those of us who read the novels of The Walking Dead, and we know the characters and the way you wrote the characters, do you get upset that the writers for the show changed the characters around, or do you look at it like as a redo of your own?
I don't necessarily look at it like a redo. I mean, maybe like it's not like, I mean, in a sense it is a redo. I mean, there's no arguing that it's not. But I don't know. I mean, I'm involved, so it's not like they're going, hey, we're going to turn this guy into a dog. And I'm like, oh, man, I wish you wouldn't. And a lot of times I'm pushing those changes. So, I mean, I dig it. I mean, it's important to me that I enjoy the show. I mean, it's not really important, but it's important to me. And so if we were just doing the same thing, I would hate the show because I'd be like, I know what this is, and this is all boring, and, this looked cooler when Charlie Adler drew it, But when you add new elements and you change it up, then it's exciting to me because I get to, do new stuff. So I, if it were up to me, there would be more changes. It'd be like lasers and spaceships and all kinds of crazy stuff, so. Am I too loud and echoey, or is that just from my perspective up here? I apologize.
Hi. I had a question about, in terms of how you plot your storylines for the Walking Dead comics.
Haphazardly?
No. Well, in terms of in the last couple of years, we've had kind of like, we had All Out War, and then we kind of had a lull, a time jump, and then we went into the Whisperers War, and now we're going back down into kind of the aftermath of the Whisperers War.
Sure.
Do you find yourself when you're plotting the stories almost like a cycle, or are we going to go to another big war-like event, or is it going to be smaller scale? Like in the beginning, we had like small, like adventures in a way. Yeah,
I mean, you do kind of get to a certain point in the series, and there are kind of tent poles, where there's the attack at the prison that was like 5 issues, and the hunters and things like that. It's not necessarily a cycle. I mean, I don't think you can actually discern like, oh, well, he does 5 issues of this and 6 issues of this and 4 issues of that and 7 issues of that. But I feel like if you don't have those peaks and valleys, the peaks don't have the effect that you want if you haven't come from down here, and the valleys don't have an effect if you're not coming down from something. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like it's just like a storytelling technique to keep things interesting, but it's entirely possible that I'm a hack and I'm in a rut and I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, I'll first person to admit. I'm glad you guys still like it, but maybe it all sucks. Who knows? So I don't know. But yeah, I don't think we're in a down period now. Like, Andrea just died. There's crazy stuff happening. Did I spoil that for anybody? I apologize. I'm off my game.
No, it's still great. I just had a curious question. So thank you.
Thanks.
How you doing?
Anybody that's spoiled for people? All right.
I was actually going to talk about Andrea's death. Great. You put a letter.
Why'd you spoil that, man?
I was trying to. I was trying to get there before.
How dare you? I usually do a disclaimer, but.
Frog and Bunny, I tried to jump ahead, didn't work. So.
That's good.
So you put a letter at the back of that issue talking about how that was meant a lot to you, that death was very hard to do. Was there any point where you were just...
I'm incapable of being emotional in front of people, though, so don't make me talk about that letter.
No worries. But was there any point where you just decided, kind of pull your finger off the trigger and not let that happen because that was something that was so hard for you?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it in the letter a little bit. I mean, there were weeks where I was like, well, I haven't written the issue yet. And I considered for a long time, like, how it would ruin the book if I was like, she could just survive a zombie bite, which would just be the worst, like, just absolute worst plot development. So yeah, I mean, I even though I knew it would be like the hackiest, most terrible thing to do, like I did like leave it open to where like, well, maybe it wasn't a zombie bite. Maybe she just, like got hit by the butt of a gun or something when a zombie like grabbed something from her, and that's why she had a big hole in her neck. So yeah, I mean, I wrestled with it, and these characters are important to me. I mean, I think the reason The Walking Dead works is because they're very important to me, and I'm very emotional about them, and they're very important to you guys, and you guys are very emotional about them. And I wrote that letter because I wanted to make it clear that, when you guys feel the gut punch, I feel the gut punch too. And I'm the guy punching myself in the gut, so it's very bizarre, but I do still feel it. And the thing in that letter was true. Like I was sitting on an airplane, like surrounded by people, like plotting. I have like typing paper in my lap, and I got a pencil, and I look like a grade school kid that's like doing a writing project or something. So I'm sure people on a plane are like, what's that guy doing? Like I don't see people like writing on paper with pencils a lot on planes. And so I'm doing that, and I'm like, it was real tough. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's it is emotional, and I did consider not doing it. But hopefully the fact that I actually do have some writing skill kept me from doing the terrible plot just so that I would feel better.
No, it was awesome. Yeah,
thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
Real quick, my niece just texted and wanted to know if you can go to her high school graduation in 3 years.
Where's it at?
Emmett, California. It's
how far away from LA is that?
It's about an hour. It's more about an hour and a half from here. So
3 years. What's that put us in? 2020.
2020. Yeah.
We're not going to be here. But
oh wow.
I don't know. I will consider it.
Okay. My question, and I know everybody here is more Walking Dead.
I've been to high school graduations, and it's not fun. I mean, I was at my own, and I was like, "Why, this is terrible. Can we just not do this?" So look forward to that in 3 years, but you're not gonna have a good time. Someone's gonna get up to speak, and they're gonna be like, "I promise I'll make this brief," and then they don't. And then someone else talks, and then the valedictorian, whoever, like the kid you hate in school, gets up and talks like they're like the coolest person in the world, and you're like, I just can't believe this. And then you throw your hats. I don't know. It's been a while for me. Leave me alone. Go ahead.
I completely understand. I used to teach high school, so I understand the boredom. My question, though, everybody here is Walking Dead, but Outcast is really a great comic.
I agree.
Thank you.
And can I say the writer of that book is also really handsome?
He is pretty awesome. Really... So, to just make it brief, can you give us anything that might be coming up, kind of important-wise? A little sneak peek.
Yeah, I've got a trailer right here. Let's see here. I don't know what issue is out. There's a very big storyline on the horizon. I think you guys can see from reading the book that the situation in Rome, West Virginia is getting worse and worse. You've got Kyle and his group living out on that farm, hiding away. That's not going to be something that they can do long term. Like things are going to start ramping up very quickly. One of the things about that book is that it does have a very slow pace, and it is somewhat of a quiet book. And that was by design because eventually it won't be that, and people will be like, what the heck's going on? So we're getting to the what the heck's going on part of the book that I'm really excited about. There's a really huge new character that gets introduced in issue 30. So, 30. And so that's happening, and I think that's the next issue to come out, actually. So there's some cool stuff on the horizon. Really excited.
All right, thank you.
Cool.
Hello, Robert Kirkman.
Hey.
I'm a huge fan of your work. Probably my favorite comic book series is The Walking Dead right now.
Thank you very much. You're in the right place.
It's probably despite the trauma that I received to my heart reading through all 169 issues. But I have one question is, if you could bring back one character from the comic book and the TV show, what would they be?
I wouldn't do it. Because like if Tyrese showed up one day, it'd be like, well, how'd you? It's weird. But I thought Chad Coleman did a great Tyrese. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to play favorites. But Tyrese.
The truth comes out.
Maybe Glenn, whatever.
And
now that Steven's watching this, because I mentioned him earlier.
One last question. I know a lot of people are huge fans of your work, and a lot of people have their own fan theories about how it could end or what would happen next season. Like, what do you think about that? Do you ever?
Andrew Lincoln has one, and it's awful.
It's awful.
He did it at Paley Fest. He was like, well, the way I think it ends is this, and he just kept talking, and I was like,
You think we could hear that?
not good.
Not good.
Not good. I wish I remembered what it was. But it's online somewhere. Just go watch it. You'll see me sitting next to him going. And I think when he stopped, I said, nice try.
Thank you.
Cool.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
I love your work. Big zombie fan, just years, like growing up his age watching zombie stuff. And, the genre kind of died out, and then you brought it back. And, with George Romero dying, kind of like you're taking the reins of zombieism, I would say. I mean, there's lots of other people doing it, but
I would disagree. I think that his, work still stands as the high watermark of the genre, and I don't want to get too bogged down into it, but we did lose a titan, and it's a very upsetting thing, and if in any way I can pay tribute to his work with Walking Dead, I'm happy to do that.
You did in that cell, right, where the guy rolls over and the guts fall. Anyway. Yeah. But my question is, in a lot of the zombie movies, a lot of stuff's unanswered, and you don't really find out why it happened. And do you ever play with that? Like, you know what? I'm just not going to resolve this character. I'm just going to let him disappear, like the Old West, go into the sunset. Yeah,
I mean, we've done that a couple of times. I know that there was the Davidson character. It was kind of a mystery that he was out there, and I try to do things that I think are realistic, like you wouldn't know where that guy was, and he would never, he's not like plotting in the woods and coming back. Like that's like a thing that happens in stories, but I try to make The Walking Dead more real. So yeah, I mean, we do leave things dangling like that sometimes. And I know exactly what caused the zombie apocalypse in The Walking Dead. It's just that it's dumb. And so I'm never going to tell anybody what
it's
it
like
is.
Government, sickness, there's just like...
there's like a very short list of what it could possibly be.
Well,
and you're like, well, that's weird. So...
one final question. So, everybody kind of dies.
There's baby formula at Walmart. Go ahead.
Are you fine just like waking up one morning and being like, you know what, I'm killing everybody, and I'm just going to start over again? Would you be open to that?
I considered it. If you look at the covers to Walking Dead 25, where it's like guys in armor, and if you look at 26, it's a guy in riot gear, and 27 is a guy in riot gear, and it's not till like 28 that you actually, this is news, I guess, that you actually see like, oh, it's Rick Grimes in the riot gear. Like when I was planning those issues, I was like, it'd be pretty cool if like everybody just died.
Thank you.
And I considered it, but we didn't end up doing it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Hey, I wanted to ask, who's your favorite antagonist in the show and in the comic?
Negan. I mean, Negan. David Morrissey was great, and the governor's awesome. He recently said in a news article that he thinks that the governor could beat Negan. He's wrong. He's great. He's just wrong. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Negan because. I feel like there's so much personality to him, and it's, it sucks because you like him, but he's also terrible. There's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with that character. So.
Same.
Oh, cool. We're in agreement.
You are a really, really funny guy. Have you ever considered doing stand-up comedy?
No, because my stand-up would be like, so the next issue of Walking Dead, this guy dies. I'm just kidding, and then the audience would be like, that's not funny. Like I'm funny like in a very specific room about a very specific subject.
Okay.
If I was like towels, right? What are those? Do you think they get moldy? You just leave them. Not going to work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. People that give me that comment, they don't know how hard stand-up comedy is. So,
sorry.
I'm like poking fun at him as he's walking away. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Two questions, both related. What's changed the most about your creative writing habits since the beginning of Walking Dead to now? And also, when you were able to finally write for television, what was a big change there that required a learning curve in your writing?
Jeez. Most of it's just like general writing stuff I should have known.
Like what?
Like Like, like you introduce a gun in Act 1, it needs to be fired by Act 3, like that kind of stuff. Like payoff and setup and things like that. Like, I think I got a general sense of what it was, and, I think I handled it fine. But getting into a writer's room and actually working with writers, there's all kinds of, like, little things that they would just say out loud where I'd be like, oh yeah, oh cool. That's how writing works. But I don't know. I mean, most of my process hasn't really changed. I still, try to be as loose with things as I can, and I allow like big wide gaps to open if I get inspired, and I can just throw storylines out and move things in, and I feel like that keeps things fresh. But I don't know. I mean, I certainly can't remember any specifics right now, which is why I'm vamping. But anyway, I mean, I feel like it's made me a better writer, being around people in the writer's room and, actually writing television episodes and stuff like that. Here's a big one. So, like, I would write scenes that didn't mean anything. If you really go through the earlier issues of Walking Dead, it'll be like, we went down to the stream and we washed clothes and we talked about, Sprite bottles. I don't know. And at the end of the day, it's like it was important that those characters were together and you saw a relationship building between them, but there's more that could have been done in that scene. And I think now I don't write as many like throwaway scenes, or at least when I do, I know that I'm doing it, and I'm like, oh God, I need to make this matter later or something. Like, oh, good Lord. So it's that kind of stuff.
Do you see that as a benefit of comics, in which you have more room for a throwaway scene than you could?
You actually have less room in comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's another thing, because in television, which is something I learned writing TV. Like I would write, you have to have people say what they're thinking in comics, because people can't make faces and they can't make sounds and they can't do things in comics, and so there's so much emotion and just the way people feel about certain situations. Actors can do that without saying anything, and so you can get a lot of story in like a 3-minute sequence, because people are talking very fast and people are emoting, and there's a lot of information that is given to the audience in a very quick way. In comics, there are certain things that you just can't do, and so panel count racks up if you're changing any kind of thing. So, comics have to be a lot more brief with their scenes, and television shows you can kind of, breathe a little bit.
Thanks.
Cool.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for doing this. This is awesome. So Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg said,
oh God,
that they're going to try to do everything in their power to make Invincible as awesome a movie as it should be.
Okay.
So my question is, did you guys seek them out, or did they pitch to you? And if they pitched to you their idea of an Invincible movie, what was it about their pitch that made you go, yeah, these are the guys to do it?
Unfortunately, it's a little early for me to be able to reveal that, but that will be revealed when we're like marketing the book and stuff. But they had a really cool, take. They knew exactly what I feel an Invincible movie needs. It was one of those things where you're in the room and you're talking to them and they're like, we kind of feel like the movie should be this, this, and this should be the tone. And the tone should kind of harken back to this kind of thing. And when I heard it, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want, but I didn't know that's what I wanted. And so that was really cool. But it's cool, and I think that one of the best things is Seth and Evan are 100% aware of the fact that it's a very crowded marketplace for superhero films. Now, that's not to say that superhero films are waning in popularity or in any way, or that people want less of them, because we're seeing exactly the opposite this year. Like, people just want more superhero stuff. But they not only see that for Invincible to succeed, it has to be fundamentally different than anything that you've ever seen in the superhero space, but they also are already on top of it and have ideas for it. So I'm really excited about it. I mean, hopefully we'll be here in a couple years, showing a trailer or something, and you guys will see oh yeah, that is a completely different kind of superhero movie. Like, that's really cool. So that's what we're hoping for.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Cool, man. Good seeing you.
Hi, Rob.
Hey.
My question is about Marvel Zombies. Big fan of the first one.
I haven't written for Marvel Comics in a number of years, and I would like you to leave my panel. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. I will pretend to remember what you asked me about.
Well, big fan of the first one you wrote. The second one was...
You didn't like so much?
It was banned, and I didn't like it as much. I want to know why there was such a big change in how you wrote the second chapter of the Marvel Zombies universe.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was cool that they all ended up as Galactuses at the end of that one. Maybe that, or was that no? They all ended up as Galactuses at the end of the first one.
Exactly. That was badass.
And can I just be honest? That's why the second one was so different, because the first one didn't start out with a team of Galactuses. So yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just wanted to do something bizarre. One of the things about Marvel Zombies that I thought was hilarious was like I would just write like stories about like Iron Man eating somebody's face, and Marvel would be like, great. and so then I was like, well, I'm not going to stop until I think I don't remember I don't remember exactly which character did what, but at one point I think it's like Bruce Banner. Yeah, Bruce Banner ate a dude as the Hulk, and then he turned into Bruce Banner, and his stomach was like all ballooned out and ripped up because he was full of like people, and then his stomach burst, and I want to say it was like Hank Pym or somebody was like, oh, cool, I'm going to eat the flesh that just popped out of Banner's exploded stomach. And I just think about Mark Ruffalo and Paul Rudd doing that in a movie, and I'm like, I know exactly what the Untitled Avengers movie is. Because clearly that is something that would totally fly. But yeah, so it kind of put me in a mode of trying to do weirder and weirder stuff, and so that's probably why the second one sucked. I don't know. It's a Marvel book. I don't care.
Hey, what's up? My question for you is, I don't know what Walking Dead is. I've never heard of it.
Totally fine. It's a zombie book. It's, I don't know.
I was listening to...
Mostly a show now. No one really cares about the comic anymore.
I still
Go ahead.
but my question was about your personal art collection. I was listening to the Felix comic art thing. And I was amazed that like you actually have so much of your own stuff. Any advice for someone that's wading in way too deep and actually buying panels that you don't need because you clearly did it? And what...
Yeah,
you just buy what you like, or
it's a sickness.
Oh yeah, it is.
I don't know. I mean, I never bought anything to resell it. So
no, it's for yeah, it's my personal collection of just all stuff.
I don't really have any advice. I mean, just try and find an understanding life partner. Because if you don't have that, then you're gonna have a lot of weird arguments about paper. Did you buy this piece of paper for $500? I did buy a piece of paper for $500. Why would you buy a piece of paper why would you buy a purse for $500? I don't know what to tell you. Purses are more valuable than paper. No, they are not. Not to me. I'm letting you guys in too much. I apologize.
Sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you. My other question was, do you actually buy any new art or anything, or is there anything you currently like?
I mean, everyone in this panel, you should know that everyone in this panel right now is bored, and they want you to stop asking questions. No, I'm kidding. No, this is a camaraderie between two art collectors. I can say whatever I want to this guy, and we're tight, so don't get offended. He's my favorite guy in the room right now.
Thank you.
Boo me. Anyway. Get out of here. But no, I don't know. I've just bought. I don't know how I buy stuff. I just bought a 2-page spread of the Max by Sam Keith.
Nice.
Riveting for all these people. But yeah. So I don't know. I get stuff. I just bought the cover to Pit 8 on the floor yesterday.
That's cool.
So because I love me some Dale Keown, but. I should do an original art panel next year where I just talk about original art.
Or do you ever check out like CAF or anything like that, or is it just comics art?
Oh yeah. Comic art fans.
Yeah, do you ever?
Yeah, I go on there too much, and then I like email people, and I'm like, hey, you should sell that to me.
Yeah, I heard that. You're like, I'm looking for this page, trying to complete a run.
That happens. Cool, but no, I mean, it's funny. I was at an AMC dinner with Frank Darabont when he was still talking to AMC, and the president of AMC, and they were talking about like their sports cars that they buy. Well, I like buying Porsches, and I like doing this, and I like doing that. And I was like, I just bought all 12 series of Garbage Pail Kids on eBay.
Yes.
And so, and it was like, it was one of those like, I do not belong here moments. So yeah, but it's like, Garbage Pail Kids, original art, like. That's this. I bought the shirt at Target, so that's what I spend my money on.
But you're real. You're a regular person like us. That's why we appreciate it.
I do. I'm not. I promise I'm not. But I do my best.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I remember that a gallon of milk is $10.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hey. Battle Beast shirt. Love it.
Big Invincible fan.
Thank you very much.
Do you have the hardbound stuff at Skybound booth?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I just wanted to let you say that.
I appreciate it. No, we got volumes 1 through whatever the last one was.
And
14, 12, 13, I don't know.
The writer of the Invincible, that he's handsome also?
He is indeed. More handsome than the writer of Outcast and The Astounding Wolfman, I hear.
I do have an Invincible question.
Please do.
I do. A few years back in Hall H, I asked you why Charlie didn't put any animals in his comics, like deers or pumas.
Because he doesn't like to draw animals.
And he didn't like to draw animals.
Did you ask him and he said no?
No, yeah, well, he was, yeah. But then a year later, Shiva popped up in The Walking Dead. And then, of course, my friends have been telling me I should get 50% of all Shiva copies, but I won't go into that. But I brought up pumas, and we talked about...
Not how it works.
We talked about...
You said, why aren't there animals in Walking Dead? You didn't say you should put a tiger in Walking Dead.
About Ving
and
Rhames.
even if you had said you should put a tiger in Walking Dead, you, sir, do not own tigers.
I don't know. Do you remember us talking about Ving Rhames and zombie tigers at Hall H at all?
No.
Okay, I didn't know if that was already in your head with Ezekiel.
No, I don't remember the conversation I had behind that curtain before I came out. No.
Now, on Invincible, Battle Beast, a few issues back, rest in peace, Battle Beast, you said there was a rumor of another. There was one little line. I just asking you as a fan, is there anything, you're not going to leave that dangling, are you?
No. Well, I mean, you were here earlier in the panel, and I was like, I don't just do throwaway scenes.
Good.
Things have payoff, so yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. There's only is there 6 issues? Yeah, there's 6 issues left to come out. So at some point you'll see some kind of thing involving that line.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe another Battle Beast of some form, who knows?
Hi. Invincible is such an epic story. How do you go about, what's the process of taking a story from an episodic comic format and changing that into a film, a story that works in like a 2-hour block?
Well, I mean, you don't bite off more than you can chew, I think is the thing. I mean, I'm leaving that to Seth and Evan. They know what they're doing. But, the idea is that we wouldn't go, it's a movie, so we're going to fit, 15 years of Invincible comics into 2 hours. Like, that's not how it works. They would pick one of the stories from the run of the comics and really, give that room to breathe and hopefully do it well enough that we can do 17 Invincible movies. So.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, every time we talk, I'm like, 9 movies, guys, right? And then I'll see him again, and I'll be like, 10 movies, guys, right? And I'll be like, 11 movies, right, guys? You said 11? And they're like, we really don't like you. But I can handle it. Go ahead.
I also have an Invincible question.
Please do. That's great.
So it's such a large series, like she was saying. Is there anything you would change if you could go back and redo it?
I feel like it hits a point. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the book hits a point where the storyline is more focused. And there was a good 20 or 30 issues somewhere in there where it was like, hey, he's fighting Furnace on Mount Rushmore, and he's fighting this guy over here, and this guy's doing this. And I feel like there was a small part where, looking back, it seems kind of directionless. I might change that if I went back. But the book's perfect.
It's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
I know you said you don't remember a whole lot of the stuff you say.
I'm just kidding.
You said on The Talking Dead a few years ago that you made Daryl asexual, and I was just wondering if you meant that in the LGBTQ spectrum.
Well, just being completely honest here, I was very ignorant to the existence of asexual people at the time. And so I didn't know. I just meant asexual as in he's not really a sexual person. But that being said, I wouldn't entirely rule it out. It could be that Daryl is an asexual person because we don't really see that side of him. So yeah, but I I don't know. I mean, it's tough, with the LGBTQIA stuff. It's sometimes a hot button thing, and you kind of worry about what you can say, especially I'm a stupid straight white guy, so I don't know a lot of things, and it's just not my world. But I do try to be as knowledgeable as I can, and when I do find blind spots, I try to make sure I dive in and educate myself as best I can. So I have done that since, but that was an ignorance on my part, so I do apologize.
Well, it means a lot to me, and thank you for it.
Oh, great.
Hello.
Hello.
So, when it comes to the show, from last season, in my opinion, one of the most intense scenes was when, I'm totally gonna forget the name right now, of course. Anyways, let me skip that.
We can wait.
No, we don't wait. But it had to do with that. So whenever
that is a rad Mad Max shirt. I'm just gonna say.
Thank you.
It's pretty great.
Whenever you're writing the comics right now, do you ever stop for a sec and go like, "Wow, that's gonna be a little too much for TV," or do you?
No. No. In fact, when that gentleman that I will forget soon asked me about Shiva the Tiger again, I was going to talk about how, I didn't have any intention of ever putting any animals in the book because Charlie doesn't like to draw animals, but I wanted to do heightened stuff, and I wanted to show that the world had gotten stranger and stranger as people continued surviving into the apocalypse, and I thought, guy having a pet tiger would be pretty rad. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. I'm going to try not to say rad too much. I apologize. So anyway, because I know every time I say it, people don't still say that. Anyway, when I wrote that and I was putting Ezekiel into the book, in my head, I had the thought of, well, how are they going to do a tiger on the show? And I screamed at myself and was like, that's not how this works. You do not let the show dictate what you do in the comic. That would make you a sellout. That is the definition of a sellout. And so then I was like, they're never going to be able to do this tiger on the show. And now we're doing the tiger on the show, and it looks awesome. So it's really weird. But I have stated before, so I apologize if you're hearing me repeat myself, that sentiment has made me make the comic weirder and stranger and more difficult to produce. And I feel like the show has affected me in a way I didn't intend, in that where I try to go, well, the show can't restrict me, I'm gonna do crazy stuff. Like, if the show didn't exist, I'd probably be like, nah, I probably shouldn't do that crazy stuff. But instead I'm like, we're going full crazy. So that's why the stuff got weird.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. You guys seem to like it. Back for more?
Hi again. So fans are notorious for mixing and matching fan art from across genres. Well, you obviously have to focus on what you're writing, what you're focusing on. But if you could do a one-shot in any other comic universe, what would you pick? And what would you do with those characters?
Oh, God. I mean, the honest answer is I wouldn't. Marvel and DC are probably the go-to things that you'd think of. I don't really have any desire to write any of their characters. I like writing new stuff. I mean, if I was to do a one-shot of anything, I would want it to be a new idea, just because that's the stuff that I think speaks to me as a writer, and that's the stuff that excites me. I think that, look, frankly, we live in a society that is far too excited about the familiar. You see remakes clogging the theaters, and you see television shows brought back from the dead, and nostalgia reigns supreme. And I think that new ideas, I think, are the most important and vital thing that we need to come up with. I mean, even if you can argue well, no, The Walking Dead's just a ripoff of what Romero was doing. That's not really a new idea. I tried, okay? I'm sorry. That's all I can do. But I think at least trying to do new things and trying to, put some new blood into the entertainment spectrum.
More than just DC and Marvel. There's so many out there. You've never wanted to experiment with any of the characters? Looked at the comic?
I mean, I'd love to do a Transformers thing at some point, but, not really. Because I'd rather watch a Transformers thing done by somebody else and not know what's going to happen next. I love Rick and Morty, but if Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland were to call me, I'd be like, oh my God, Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland called me. This is awesome. But if they asked me to write an episode of Rick and Morty, I would say no, because one, I know that I'm not a good enough writer to be able to do one, and two, I would rather just watch an episode. I don't know. I feel like it's oddly narcissistic to watch something and be like, yeah, I want to write that.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right, so my friend was wondering, if you had to be trapped in a room with Negan or the governor, which would you choose?
Whew, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Because Negan would be like a fun conversation before he killed you. No, I mean, honestly, I think Negan because the governor was unhinged and he did things that were irrational. And I think that you could argue that Negan's actions are at least rational to him, especially as we've gotten deeper and deeper into that character. He's somebody that is willing to do the horrible thing and does the horrible thing very often, but it's always for a reason. Whether or not you agree with that reason or whether or not he's wrong about that reason can always be debated. But I think that, you know, if I'm trapped in a room with Negan, I might be able to, you know, reason with him a little bit. And I don't know, maybe he'd let me hold Lucille. I have no idea.
Thank you.
Cool.
Hello.
Hey.
I was just wondering, do people before Walking Dead that you knew, do they see you differently now that it's your job to create lovable characters and then sadistically murder them?
Well, I think that, I mean, I don't know, the people that really know me, I mean, know that I'm not a crazy person. But I mean, my job is weird. There's no debating that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I have family members that give me side eye a little bit sometimes. Like, you know, family. You know, you see those family members like once a year, and you're like, oh, that Robert, he's so quiet. And then they're like watching TV, and they're like, and then the next year they see me, and they're, good to see you too. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it before now. You think people think differently about me?
Yeah, maybe. Especially Glenn.
All right. Well, the money's nice, I guess.
Hello again.
Yeah.
The comics always came first, and the show may not use the same characters, the same scene, or the same pacing, but they'll hit the same high and low nodes within the story. Have you ever, now that the show's been going on for a while, been working on the comic and stop and second guess yourself from comic writer to TV writer and think, oh, I can't make that work on film? Or you think, like, well, Gimple was a jerk on the phone this morning. Let's see him get the budget for this scene.
No, I mean, I don't really think about that. I mean, I talked a little bit about with Shiva, you know, it's not really a consideration. Now, when you're writing an episode of the television show, I mean, there are budget constraints. And so, you know, every now and then we'll be like, well, instead of on a cruise liner, maybe it happens on a smaller boat, you know, like that kind of stuff happens. That's just the reality of making a TV show. But when it comes to the comics, I put no consideration whatsoever at any point into whether or not it's producible in any way. That's for us to figure out later. Cool. That's why there's like 100 characters in the comic now, and there's now 100 characters on the show, and people are like, I don't know how we're going to keep doing this. This is crazy. So.
Hi.
Hey.
So after so many deaths and weirdness in Outcast and Walking Dead, my kids are actually big fans of yours because of a book called Super Dinosaur.
Yeah.
We have the Band-Aids, the lunch boxes, the T-shirts, everything.
Great. Do you have the coloring book?
We do have we have 2 copies because I have 2 kids.
Oh, well, I have nothing to sell you at the Skybound booth.
Well, I was already there. Yeah.
Cool.
So what are our chances on Super Dinosaur?
Good.
Perfect.
I will say no more.
I was wondering if we were going to see Clementine from the Walking Dead game in either the comics or the TV show.
No.
Why?
Well, I mean, because, pretty much for the same reason you won't see Daryl in the comics, because I like that if you want to play the Walking Dead video game, you get Clementine, and that is a unique experience, and that's something that makes the video game special. I think too often, you know, like if I play an Avengers game, it's going to be Captain America and Thor hanging out, and if I watch an Avengers movie, it's going to be Captain America and Thor hanging out, and if I read a comic, it's going to be Captain America and Thor hanging out. And I think that it makes The Walking Dead more special that, the comic has an experience and the show, which are very linked, but they are very different. And then video games and novels and things like that are in the world, but it's completely different people with completely different problems. And I know it would be fun as a fan to see Clementine show up and like high five Carl at some point in the comic, but you're just gonna have to write some fan fiction. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Cool.
You mentioned you weren't interested in really the crossover using anybody else. What about with Fear of the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead itself? Are there any ideas with that or connecting those in any?
Yeah, I mean, right now the timelines are so separate that it would be an impossibility.
Okay.
But they are in the same world, so if like Oklahoma ever went up in like a nuclear cloud, like you'd see the cloud in Walking Dead and they'd see it in Fear the Walking Dead and be like, ain't going to Oklahoma.
So it's happening kind of, but it is happening at the same time, essentially?
Well, like,
that's what I was.
I like to, like, I don't know the exact timeline because I'm lazy.
That's okay.
But Fear the Walking Dead season 3 takes place roughly, probably around the time like the end of season 1 or 2, and at the beginning of season 2 in Walking Dead. So, Walking Dead season 8 is taking place with the theoretical Fear the Walking Dead season 7. So it'll be we're gonna get there.
So it's impossible
for now.
Okay, cool.
So, with the inevitable success of the Invincible movie once it comes out, I know it's going to do gangbusters.
This. Keep going. Exactly. Keep going. Tell me more. What do you think that box office is going to be the first weekend? No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I don't want to get you there yet. We're going to build. But what we'll do is that's going to expose a lot of new fans to Invincible. And I know you've written and you mentioned today, it seems kind of bittersweet, but also that maybe you kind of are okay with it ending.
Mm-hmm.
So what about all those new people? Do you have any trepidation, or do you feel a sense of maybe joy in being able to go back to that universe, or would you feel the desire to go back to that universe if there's a clamoring for it?
Well, I think, Sandman is a good example. I think Sandman had a definitive ending, but Neil Gaiman comes back every now and then and does some kind of extra story or something like that. Like, I wouldn't rule that out completely in the future. That said, 144, the final issue, has, a fairly definitive ending. And so, I don't want to spoil anything. Everyone dies. It's going to be a complete story, and so new people, I think, will have a 25-volume trade set that they can dive into, and I think 25 volumes of anything is enough. And but I may come back at some point. Who knows?
Thanks.
All right, cool. Last question here, and then I'm going to run away fast.
Hey, Robert.
What's up?
So I got a question. Like with the governor, they had that book that was just a novel describing how he became the governor.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ever going to do something, or let someone else do something like that for Negan or any future villain characters?
Well, we actually did that with Negan. It was the Here's Negan storyline that appeared serialized in the Image Plus catalog magazine thing that I should have a better description for. We're collecting it all into a hardcover in October. And so it tells Negan's storyline from before the zombie apocalypse through the zombie apocalypse, and kind of until he, becomes the Negan we know and love. So it's a cool standalone hardcover, and it will be in stores October, and it is at the Skybound booth right now. It's not at all. But yeah, it'll be out in October. It'll be, I think it's 64 pages of story.
Okay, cool.
So cool. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to this lovely panel. I had a great time. I hope you had a great time as well.